Have you ever wondered if the brightest lights of Hollywood hide the darkest shadows? Imagine a world where films, songs, and stars are not just entertainment, but instruments of influence. A carefully designed stage where every gesture, every lyric, every symbol whispers a message you were never meant to question. Tonight, we open the curtain on the Monarch program, a name whispered in classified files and secret meetings since the 1950s. Linked to covert projects like MKUltra, it was said to be a system of mind control, perfected by secret societies, and later exported into the very heart of popular culture. Why Hollywood? Because cinema is not just storytelling. It is ritual, it is symbol, it is hidden technology disguised as art. Think of the butterfly, the monarch. Harmless at first glance, yet an ancient emblem of transformation. In the underground vocabulary of these societies, it becomes a symbol of a fractured mind, reshaped and reborn for manipulation. Have you noticed how often butterflies, eyes, and geometric symbols appear in music videos, award shows, and even movie posters? Coincidence, or a ritual in plain sight? What you'll discover in this video may unsettle you. We will follow the invisible threads connecting secret societies, rituals hidden in performances, and the mysterious breakdowns of stars who may be more than just victims of fame. Each story, each scene, could be part of a larger code designed to control not only the individual, but the collective mind. Stay with me until the end, because once you see the pattern, you cannot unsee it. And before we move forward, write in the comments, "I see the hidden signs." Subscribe if you want to uncover what lies beneath the surface, because the next clue is waiting, just beyond the spotlight. The story begins in shadows that history books rarely mention. 1953, a year marked by quiet signatures and sealed files. Behind the closed doors of government agencies, whispers spoke of experiments meant to reshape the human mind. What the public knew as MKUltra was only the surface. A cover for something deeper, something whispered by those who dared to look closer. The Monarch program. Imagine secret societies seated around polished tables, deciding the future of human thought. Their aim was not just intelligence gathering, but the creation of pliable minds, broken and rebuilt like clay. The monarch butterfly became their emblem, a symbol chosen for its metamorphosis. The fragile cocoon, the rebirth, the transformation into something both beautiful and controlled. But in this code, beauty hid cruelty. Victims of these programs were seen not as people, but as vessels. Their fractured identities were cataloged, tested, manipulated, until obedience became second nature. Accounts, buried in forgotten archives, describe how psychological influence was paired with hidden technology. Strobe lights, sound frequencies, coded imagery. At first, these were confined to military facilities, isolated bases where soldiers and civilians alike were tested under the banner of national security. Some spoke of Fort Detrick, others of remote desert labs, where mind control was less theory and more practice. The goal was clear: create the perfect subject, a human machine able to obey without hesitation, to act without question. But that was never enough. Secret societies, Illuminati, Skull and Bones, and others cloaked in ritual and forbidden knowledge understood something greater, that to control one mind was power, but to control millions through culture was destiny. They saw Hollywood not merely as entertainment, but as the most effective ritual stage in human history. Films could deliver hidden symbols, music could weave dark agendas beneath melody, and rituals disguised as art could normalize what was once unthinkable. The Monarch program, once whispered about in military halls, slowly migrated into studios where bright lights masked darker intentions. Celebrities became both symbols and sacrifices, praised on the stage while bound in unseen chains behind the scenes. Some breakdowns that tabloids called personal struggles may have been fractures of the programmed mind, the collapse of carefully constructed alter egos. And if you have ever wondered why certain stars seem to repeat the same imagery, the same occult rituals in their performances, perhaps the answer lies not in creativity, but in coded instruction. Have you noticed the recurring motifs? The all-seeing eye flashing for a split second, the butterfly wings spread behind a pop icon, the marionette strings etched into a stage design. Once you see the pattern, it refuses to disappear. It stares back at you from billboards, music videos, even children's films. Write in the comments, "I will not be controlled." Because awareness is the first fracture in the invisible chains. Yet, the question remains. If the Monarch program began in secret labs of the 1950s, what bridges carried it across oceans and into the heart of global entertainment? Who opened the doors that allowed experiments on obedience to evolve into an industry of symbols and shadows? And why do these signs keep appearing, not as relics of the past, but as living codes that still surround us today? Hollywood has always sold itself as the land of dreams. But what if those dreams are carefully engineered illusions? What if every scene, every frame, carries a second layer of meaning, one not meant for the casual viewer, but for those who understand the code? This is where hidden symbols emerge, woven into scripts, costumes, and set designs like threads in a tapestry of forbidden knowledge. The all-seeing eye flashing for a moment, a pyramid glowing in the background, the marionette strings pulled tight against a helpless figure. These are not accidents. They are signals. In 1997, a global blockbuster dominated the box office. On the surface, it was a tale of romance and tragedy. But attentive eyes noticed something strange. Butterfly motifs in the heroine's jewelry, a recurring triangular light cast across the villain's face, whispers of Latin phrases etched into background props. No journalist questioned it. No critic dared to suggest more than artistic flourish. Yet those familiar with secret societies recognized the fingerprints. To them, it wasn't a simple love story. It was a ritual played out on screen, a reinforcement of ancient codes meant to bypass reason and embed directly into the subconscious. The Illuminati, Skull and Bones, and other groups that thrive in shadows understand the power of repetition. They know that symbols bypass the conscious mind. You may not remember the fleeting eye in the corner of a music video, but your subconscious absorbs it. You may laugh off the butterfly wings projected behind a pop star, but deep inside, the mind reacts, its psychological influence concealed. In entertainment, a form of manipulation disguised as art. And when audiences consume these images by the millions, the collective psyche is shaped without resistance. Have you ever wondered why certain motifs keep returning decade after decade? The eye, the butterfly, the marionette, the ritual circle, like echoes of an unseen language. These are not merely decorations, but instructions. Each repetition strengthens the pattern, normalizes the hidden power behind it, and makes the dark agenda easier to accept. And when critics call it coincidence or creative freedom, they reinforce the illusion, protecting the forbidden knowledge from scrutiny. This is why so many celebrities themselves become walking billboards of these codes. Their music videos, photo shoots, and even public appearances overflow with hidden symbols. It is not just fashion, it is ritual in motion. The performance becomes an initiation for the audience, a ceremony broadcast to millions who believe they are simply being entertained. Write in the comments, "I see the signs," because recognition breaks the spell, and once your eyes are open, the symbols lose part of their invisible grip. But that's only the surface, because symbols are not confined to backdrops and props. They are carved into the very identities of the stars themselves. Their gestures, their breakdowns, their sudden transformations. Each carries the mark of a system far older, far darker, and far more deliberate than the public dares to imagine. Fame is often painted as the ultimate dream, the pinnacle of human success. But behind the shimmering curtains of Hollywood, behind the cameras and red carpets, another story unfolds. One not written in scripts, but carved into the minds of those chosen to stand in the spotlight. What if the greatest icons of music and cinema are not free creators, but carefully crafted instruments? What if the scandals, the breakdowns, the sudden transformations we witness are not random episodes, but the shadows of something much darker, occult rituals and psychological influence hidden behind glamour? Secret societies have always understood the power of spectacle. From ancient rites performed in temples to coded ceremonies witnessed only by the initiated, ritual has been their language, their key to control. Hollywood offered them the perfect modern temple, a stage large enough to reach the entire world. Actors, singers, performers. They became the new priests and priestesses, their gestures encoded, their costumes soaked in hidden symbols, their very lives turned into living rituals. But the stars themselves were not simply participants. They were subjects of manipulation. Through mind control techniques refined since the 1950s, they were molded into vessels that could carry forbidden knowledge into the subconscious of millions without resistance. Consider the recurring theme of alter egos in the industry. Singers who speak of other selves taking the stage. Rappers who change names as if changing skins. Pop stars who confess they feel like someone else when the lights turn on. To the public, this is called artistic creativity. But within the hidden framework of the Monarch program, it resembles something far more sinister: the fragmentation of the mind. Psychological influence splits the identity, creating controlled personalities that can be triggered on command. One self for the cameras, another for the rituals, and yet another locked away in the unseen. A human marionette controlled by ancient codes. How many times have we seen celebrities break down live on stage, collapse in interviews, or spiral into bizarre public episodes? The tabloids call it stress, addiction, the heavy burden of fame. But look closer. Notice the timing, the symbols surrounding the event, the sudden disappearances followed by carefully orchestrated rehabilitation. These collapses look less like accidents of fame and more like cracks in the programming. Moments when the fragments no longer hold, when the dark agenda written into the mind begins to bleed into the surface. The star becomes a living revelation of the forbidden knowledge hidden in plain sight. Some artists have even spoken in cryptic ways about being controlled. Lyrics that reference marionette strings, songs about butterflies, interviews that slip into strange admissions before being cut short. And yet, the world consumes it as entertainment, never questioning why the same imagery repeats again and again. Why do they always return to the all-seeing eye? Why the ritualistic dances at award shows? Why the sudden changes in behavior as if another identity had taken over? These are not random coincidences. They are the language of mind control, the whispered confessions of programmed minds. Have you ever wondered why certain stars seem untouchable, rising to fame overnight, while others vanish as quickly as they appeared? Those who submit to the rituals thrive under the hidden power of secret societies. Those who resist often fall into silence, scandal, or tragedy. The stage, the costumes, the performances, all become part of a dark agenda that most will never question. And when fans mimic the gestures, sing the lyrics, or embrace the symbols, they unknowingly participate in the ritual themselves, extending the influence far beyond the stage. Write in the comments, "I will not be controlled," because the first step to awakening is to recognize the pattern, to see the signs that others dismiss as coincidence. Once you name the ritual, you break the spell it casts in silence. And yet, this is only the surface, because the manipulation of the stars is just one layer of the conspiracy. What lies in the shadows behind the cameras, in the ceremonies, the public never sees may reveal that the greatest performances are not the ones on stage, but the ones played out in secret halls of power. And if every scandal, every fall from grace, every carefully publicized breakdown is not a story of fame gone wrong, but a glimpse of a mind programmed to fracture at the right moment, then what are we truly witnessing? Could it be that the very chaos we consume as entertainment is itself another ritual, designed to keep us blind while the unseen hand tightens its grip? The answer hides just beyond the spotlight, waiting to be seen. The stage lights flare, the music swells, millions of eyes fixated on a single performance. And yet, what the audience believes is entertainment may in truth be something far older, far more deliberate. Award ceremonies in Hollywood, celebrated as nights of glamour, often carry another layer, a ritualistic structure disguised beneath choreography, costumes, and sound. The crowd sees art, but those who know the code see occult rituals. Every gesture, every hidden symbol, every flicker of light is placed with purpose. The pentagram traced in a dance formation, the all-seeing eye glowing on massive screens, the subtle play of Kabbalistic numbers written into the stage design. They are not random choices of style. They are messages. Secret societies thrive on these open secrets, embedding their language in plain sight where only the awakened will notice. For decades, performers have enacted these ceremonies before global audiences, cloaking forbidden knowledge in music and movement. The manipulation works because it is hidden beneath layers of artistry, so the public never questions. A star descending on wires might look like spectacle, but to the initiated, it echoes ancient rites of descent and rebirth. A circle of dancers, moving in unison, may seem like choreography, but within the logic of conspiracies, it mirrors ritual gatherings meant to channel unseen forces. The hidden power of these ceremonies lies in repetition. Once, twice, a motif might pass as creativity. But when year after year the same patterns return, the eyes, the triangles, the fire and ash, the wings of transformation, one begins to wonder if Hollywood's greatest night is less about trophies and more about rites of passage. Some stars appear transformed after these events, as though something has been unlocked or bound within them. Their new eras, new images, and even new alter egos emerge right after such ceremonies, as if the ritual itself marked the transition. This is why the industry feels less like a creative space and more like a temple dressed in neon and sound. The awards, the applause, the gold statues, all part of the performance, but also part of a hidden agenda. Ancient codes woven into modern culture. Psychological influence amplified by screens and broadcast signals, repeated across the globe, in a single night. The public absorbs it as fashion, as art, never realizing they are participating in a ritual designed not for their joy, but for their conditioning. Have you noticed how numbers recur on these nights? The sequence of 13 lights. The use of threefold symbolism in speeches. The recurrence of sixes embedded in visual design. These are not careless coincidences, but fingerprints of secret societies ensuring their presence is felt without ever being spoken. And if you watch closely, you'll see the same artists chosen again and again to serve as vessels for these spectacles. Their bodies, their voices, their movements shaped into living offerings. The truth whispers through the shadows. What is sold as freedom of artistic expression is often the most carefully orchestrated ceremony, and each time it repeats, the boundary between ritual and entertainment dissolves a little more. The public claps, unaware they are witnessing an ancient practice dressed in sequins and lasers. And the deeper question lingers, almost too heavy to face. Because behind every curtain of smoke, every dazzling illusion of performance, something waits. Something not meant to be seen by the crowd, but felt. A presence that hides in the unseen, pulling the strings with patience, weaving symbols into culture until no one can tell where art ends and manipulation begins. But behind every curtain of smoke, there is always another veil, another shadow, another force waiting to be revealed. And what waits there may be darker than the stage itself. The spotlight blinds us, but the true stage is much larger than Hollywood. What began as experiments on individuals, then rituals imposed on chosen stars, slowly unfolded into something far more ambitious. The audience itself became the ultimate target. Millions sitting in dark theaters, millions more with headphones pressed to their ears, eyes fixed on glowing screens, all unknowingly exposed to a language of hidden symbols and forbidden knowledge. The performers may play their roles, but the real show is the psychological influence etched into the collective mind. Films, music, and television are no longer mere distractions. They are vessels. Each carries fragments of ancient codes wrapped in sound, color, and rhythm. A line in a song repeated like an incantation, an image flashing for a split second, a gesture repeated across decades of cinema. These are not artistic accidents. They are programming keys, small enough to slip past conscious thought, yet strong enough to anchor in the subconscious. The mind accepts them as harmless, while the unseen purpose works silently beneath the surface. Secret societies have mastered this craft. They understand that true power lies not in controlling one leader, nor even a handful of stars, but in shaping the very desires of entire populations. If millions dream the same dream, if millions crave the same image, the same rhythm, the same archetype, then society itself becomes predictable, pliable, obedient. It is not the cage of iron that holds us, but the invisible net of ideas we never chose. Hidden symbols serve as reminders, anchors of a dark agenda that thrives in plain sight. Think of how trends emerge overnight. A gesture repeated by a celebrity becomes a global ritual. A lyric about surrender becomes a mantra sung in every corner of the world. A show normalizing shadows is streamed by millions, praised as art while planting seeds of acceptance. The manipulation is not loud, it is subtle. That is why it is effective. Forbidden knowledge is always wrapped in spectacle, so that truth hides beneath the glitter. And we, entranced by entertainment, mistake programming for freedom. Have you ever asked yourself why the same themes repeat endlessly? Apocalyptic visions, fractured identities, masked heroes, sacrificial deaths, recycled again and again across genres. They echo ancient rituals disguised as new stories. The collective mind absorbs them, reshaping what we fear, what we desire, even how we define ourselves. When entertainment aligns so perfectly with occult rituals, it becomes clear that culture itself is the altar, and the public is both worshiper and offering. The awakening begins when patterns can no longer be dismissed as coincidence. When the same symbols, eyes, triangles, butterflies, marionette strings, appear across decades, across unrelated productions, across continents, the question is no longer if there is intent, but why? And the answer whispers from the shadows: control. Not chains, not prisons, but ideas. Thoughts dressed as entertainment, habits disguised as choice. The collective mind becomes the stage upon which secret societies play out their grand design. So the question lingers, unsettling and impossible to ignore. If every song, every film, every performance is another brick in an invisible structure, then what kind of world has been built around us? And if the true prison has no walls, no gates, no guards, but is made of symbols we celebrate, stories we repeat, rituals we accept without question, then how do we escape something we cannot see? And perhaps the deeper question is not whether we are already inside the prison, but how long it has been there, shaping us in silence, hidden in the very culture we trust the most. If you have followed these revelations until now, you already sense that the world of entertainment hides more than it shows. Knowledge like this is not given. It is uncovered. Piece by piece, symbol by symbol. To stay close to these truths, join this hidden circle, subscribe, and let the next revelations find you. Leave your mark in the comments with the words, "I see the hidden truth." And if this journey stirred something inside you, a simple like is more than support. It is a sign of awakening. The path does not end here. The next step is waiting in the shadows.